Hi, Daniel. Hi, Eduardo. How are
Hello,
you?
hello. How are you, man?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent,
Pleasure speaking
excellent.
to you.
Doing all right.
It's been 25 years since the Blair Witch Project. I mean, can you imagine that? That time flies so quickly, and you've just been working on that, and now we're talking after 25 years. And I wanted to start a question with asking both of you, are the real documentaries and paranormal activities still as terrifying for you as before? Because after all, this genre is the main foundation for this project and the entire film.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, sometimes because my wife goes to sleep before me, and I stay up usually for an hour and a half, and sometimes I just watch some Bigfoot thing or some a UFO thing, and it's still. I mean, I have to turn it off because it freaks me out. Yeah, there's still something about it that still kind of is very effective. How about you, Dan?
No, I would agree. I think there's something about the brain that when you see something that looks and feels real, kind of triggers a primal kind of response. And I think that's what Ed and I were going after when we were kind of thinking about Blair and, sort of the approach we took with it. When you're watching a documentary and you're not quite sure how it's going to end up because by its very nature, it's unpredictable. I think that just keeps the audience off kilter and on edge, and it's a very effective way, I think, to kind of portray a horror film.
But at the very beginning of your film, we at once learn what happened to these three students, more or less.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, was it important for you to make the audience aware of what is going to happen, more or less, as I'm saying, to sort of build this suspense and this kind of unnerving feeling that we know that there will be no happy ending in the end? What was your approach when you were shooting a film?
We didn't really think about it,
We
right,
did.
Dan? We kind of, we weren't really thinking about it when we were shooting. I mean, we knew we were, well, first of all, when we were shooting it, we were thinking that it was going to be more of a straight documentary that was going to explain, everything basically, the mythology and why these, filmmakers disappeared, where they went to school, interviews with their families. And then once we, later in the process of editing, we took all the documentary stuff out and we just added that title card, and we felt that, like, you're right, it does give away the ending, like, they've never been,
Hmm.
they've never been found, but we felt that there had to be some kind of information to, like, show people, okay, at least what the hell are they watching, what I'm saying? Yeah.
That was our whole hook. Like from the very beginning, it was like
Hmm.
Action Films got the rights to this footage of these three missing filmmakers. So it's sort of kind of our obligation to kind of let people know, like, okay, this is what you're watching. And we weren't even like saying they died necessarily. They were just missing.
Yeah, that's true.
The audience can kind of come to their own conclusion of what happened to them. So, like Ed was saying, we needed to tell the audience that had never heard of any of the backstory, anything that, what you're watching is basically a chronicling of these three missing people. And to this day, some people argue whether they're really dead or not, or they just
Yeah.
hopped a boat to Bimini, who knows, or the witch got them, or was it a devil's triangle sort of thing, or whatever. But in a weird way, that made it even more compelling because it's almost like Ed and I would joke about, like, those that really believe that the three filmmakers died, or sort of kind of going into the theater knowing they're going to watch a snuff film,
Hmm.
and so that sort of, I think, plays into people's sort of morbid curiosity of, like, what actually happened. Let's watch these people kind of go into madness.
And why do you believe it became this sort of like cult film after so many years? Why does it still resonate with the audience?
I don't know. I mean, we've talked about that a lot. I mean, I think that it has, it's kind of a universal thing of being lost in the woods is,
Hmm.
I think something that everybody, fears. And I think it's partly that, and also partly because it's a movie that, it doesn't look like a normal movie. It looks like a documentary. It looks like footage that, you got on your camcorder or on your phone these days. I think there's a really kind of, it's kind of universal, and and that's why I think it, it had success, all over the world, is that there is this universal kind of fear of the woods, getting lost in the woods. And you can't, and the way that Dan and I thought of it first, like the whole documentary approach was that you can't escape it. You're in the, you're in the POV of the characters. You're not directly in the POV, but most of the time, you're looking at what the character is looking at. And there isn't anything else that takes you outside of that. There isn't a shot from the, outside, seeing the creature, seeing them out there. That you're completely encased in the characters. And I don't know, I think there's something just, kind of cool about that. And I think that's why found footage has, still continues to, every once in a while, a good found footage movie comes out and make some news, but because there is something about just like it kind of it sticks you into the into the situation more intensely than like normal films most of the time.
That is 100%. And I think in addition, I think films or cult anything, people respond to stuff that is a little bit out of left field, and Blair Witch was different, and it wasn't like the standard Hollywood fare that everybody was used to, and as a result, it sort of spoke to like a young generation of people that wanted something different, wanted something kind of authentic and not polished, and so it sort of struck a chord in that regard. And I think most sort of followings kind of attach themselves to movies that are a bit rebellious. I mean, I think Star Wars is a good example of like, in other kind of iconic moments throughout history, is something rebellious going on that people sort of gravitate towards. And Blair Witch was considered definitely something anti-Hollywood, sort of counter-programming to Hollywood at the time. And people respond to that. They really do respond to that. I like to think, both Ed and I think I speak for Ed too, that the film ultimately delivered, that it was, truly a scary movie for a lot of people. So I think the film has to pay off. You can say you're rebellious all you want, but you have to really deliver the goods at the end of the day. So I'm encouraged, even to this day, people that watch the film still feel like it holds up. So that's another component, I think, to it having a devoted following. And so yeah, we're just lucky that we were a part of it.
And today, what do you think, and also what do you feel when you're watching your film? Well, what are your afterthoughts after so many years? Some personal afterthoughts.
For me, watching the movie, a lot of nostalgia, remembering how cold it was when we were shooting. I mean, making a movie is a painful process, and so you get these mixed feelings of like going through a pregnancy where it was, you can only imagine how painful a thing can be, but you're so blessed that you have this thing that you brought into the world, and I, but the pain kind of fades away, and I just remember the collaboration we had then, and so many happy accidents that we were able to be aware of, that each other, some of us, one of us may not have been aware of it one at the time, the other one was, and we all sort of kept each other in check in that regard. So it was just an awesome collaboration that I'll always cherish. And when I watch Blair Witch, it's fun to think about those times, but also having been removed from it for so long, like we had a screening of it last year here where my wife works, for kind of a fundraiser, and it was out in the woods, and it was just cool to see it having removed and detached from it for a while, and just to see it more as an audience member. So it was really cool to watch it, because there were some scenes I just forgot about, like, oh yeah, I remember doing that, So you kind of revisit those moments that you had totally forgotten about, and they catch you off guard, and it's really fun when that happens.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I just, the second sight release is, they did a new transfer of the footage from the original tape. So it's the first time that the movie's been seen like that, actually, since Dan and I were editing it on the Media 100 back in the day, yeah. But so, it's a little bit clearer. The colors are a little sharper now, and it looks like video. And so it's just, you know, I watched it outside in the, you know, in this parking lot with, you know, near the woods, actually in Burkittsville. It was like the town that now does a yearly screening for a fundraiser for the cemetery where we shot. It's just, you know, it sells out. It's just an amazing, you know, experience that people still like what Dan was saying, people still come out and to watch this movie, you know. To me, like this last time I saw it, first of all, the weirdness of like seeing it for the first time in a long time on video, because you can see like there's actually like some, you know, some artifacting in the video. You can actually see some flaws that you couldn't see in the, you know, in the film transfer. But also, you know, for me, like what really constantly strikes me is the performance of the actors. It's like how free they were and how like courageous they were and how just like, you know, and obviously the film was not, you know, it's nothing fun is happening in the movie, but it seems like they were just having just, you know, a great time as far as actors were concerned, you know, like just being, I mean, you know, and I could imagine like just being free to like basically create stuff. And also like, you know, and thinking of like how much footage we had and how Dan and I like kind of directed the movie after, you know, we shot it, you know, like kind of like a real documentary. Just, you know, and it's just cool. It's just and like your Dan said, there's like these little edits that you forget. There's just little moments that you just, you know, you remember, but you haven't seen in a while, and you kind of laugh. And then that last scene in the house is, you know, still really, really creepy and like very, you know, still very effective, even to us, you know, the filmmakers, you know. So that's, you know, that's but and again, just like Dan was saying, you know, I feel just lucky that I was, you know, that I was part of this collaboration, and that 25 years later, people like you are still interested in it, you know.
And before we wrap up, I wanted to ask both of you, apart of like the atmosphere that you have in the film, the performance, are there like any specific moments or like any other elements that you are still extremely proud of after those 25 years?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of moments. Certainly the iconic ones with, you know, Heather with the confessional scene, and you know, the you know, the whole sequence at the end at the house is a great moment. And but one of my favorites, I think, is when they're running from the tent and they hear the kids' voices outside the tent. That was one of those things that gone really wrong, and it just sort of just turned out way better than I expected it would.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, the whole movie did.
well, yeah, the whole movie did. But that scene, I don't know, it just really relied a lot on all these pieces working together, and not all the pieces did work. There was one segment where we were trying to get an image on the film, and it ended up not working. We weren't sure if that was going to be bad or good, you know, at the end analysis. But it was just you know, their reaction, their performance, and the moment when they kind of hunker down in the grass at the end of that run, and you're just hearing them off camera, you know, Mike saying that there was a baby out there or whatever. It was just super creepy and intense. And that was, to me, like a moment where the characters have nowhere to hide. You don't even have the protection of your tent. You just, it's things have gotten so dire. You're just hunkered in the freaking grass, hoping that what's out there is not going to get you. And that was just a terrifying, terrifying moment that I think gets me to this day. It really is just a great moment.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's so many things to be, you know, proud of, you know, like, and again, proud of the fact that we, you know, that we found this, you know, it's just like we found this little diamond of an idea and we polished it and we didn't screw it up. You know, that's the big thing. Like Dan and I, you know, are always talking about how it just could have gone a really bad way many times. And even like the post process, the fact that we started off as a documentary and we ended up with just this found footage movie, you know, it taught us a lot about, you know, just sticking together and sticking to the, you know, to the idea, to the central core of the idea. And it was tough. You know, we had no money, we were broke, and it was, you know, it was a difficult time, but it was really artistically satisfying. And I'm just, you know, proud that we finished it, that we, that it's finally, we got lucky and the stars, the planets aligned, and, we were able to build this thing, and now people are still talking about it. And as far as the film is concerned, I love the moments where the night is starting to come, like you can feel that night is coming, and it just gives you this sense of dread that with it just visuals of just them sitting around, especially that last night when Mike and Heather are alone, like there's this palpable like tension growing of like, oh my God, the sun's going down, that there's something bad's going to happen. Like every night something bad has happened, I just love that, stuff that, again, like Dan and I, is when we first started coming with the idea, like we hoped for moments, of that kind of dread, but I just, I just feel, we got lucky, and I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to deliver those moments that just still, like Dan was saying, still kind of affect us,
Thank you so much for today, and
Thank you,
for
man.
this interview. Thank you.